Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about the Multi Kernel Regression tool. I have it for MT4 and MT5 both platforms. You can get it from the MQL5 website or from my website abiroid.com. I'll add all the links in the description box below. You can also get the demo version with full features from my Telegram channel. The demo will be for 1 month starting today, so just check it out. As you can see in this indicator, this central line, this will show you the overall direction the price is moving in, and its color will change based on the ongoing trend. And these upper and lower bands, these will be for volatility. They will contract when market is in low volatility mode, like a tight range, and these will expand when market is in a high volatility mode, a little bit like Bollinger Bands. These are drawn using standard deviation, and you can define how far apart you want these channels to be. And to make the best trades, you need to focus on this central line, the overall direction that this line takes, and also the slope. So suppose if it is sloping too much, if this slope is too steep, in that case only take buy signals, avoid the sell signals. So wait for price to bounce off this central line and then take those buy trades. And once the line starts to even out, it starts to get a little less steep, in that case you can take both kinds of trades. And the way this line is drawn and how reactive it is to price and how much it smooths out, that will depend on the kernel, but more importantly, that will depend on the bandwidth that you're using. Something in the middle like 50, that will make it a bit reactive to price, but if I set it to something like 25, then you'll see that this is much better for scalping. And if you make it something like 100 or 150, then you'll see that it will smooth out much more, and this line, this will be much better for taking those really long swings. But once again, just be aware of the overall slope of this line and be aware of the overall ongoing trend. And in an overall buy trend, try to focus on the places where price touches this line and bounces off. Don't trade against the trend too much. And the kernel that you choose, that itself will also change the overall bands. Like this is the default one, but if you were to choose triangular, Gaussian or any of these others, then that will change the overall shape of the bands. But like I said, the bandwidth affects these bands a lot more. And if you have something like a high bandwidth, then you can set this standard deviation multiplier to much less, and that will bring these lines in closer, because these lines, these bands, they will depend on the type of instrument you're trading. Suppose if you're trading Forex, then you might get bigger swings, but if you're trading certain kinds of stocks or commodities, then these lines might be much closer to the central line. So you'd want the standard deviation to be much less, that multiplier to be much less. And if you're unsure about which kernel to choose, I would suggest initially just start with Gaussian or the default one and experiment with the bandwidth first, and then experiment with the standard deviation depending on the type of pair that you have. And if you're only interested in the overall trend, then you can also set these bands to false, and then you'll just get the central line. This refresh after tick, by default 0 means that it will refresh every tick, but if you are only interested in once the candle closes, then you can set this to a higher number. In that case, it will only refresh every 50 ticks or so. So as we talked about this default mode, this is much more better to trade these kinds of long swings, or if you have a lower bandwidth, then you can trade the scalping signals. But if you are interested in trend based trading, then you can also set this recalculate mode. If you set this to true, then it will smooth out these lines much more, and it will, let me set that to lower, and it will repaint the last number of bars, and you can set the recalculate multiplier right here. By default it's 2. That means that whatever this bandwidth is, so it will recalculate those last 50 bars and it will make them that much smoother. And this mode is much more useful if you are only trend based trading. If you are not interested in these arrow signals, and if you only want to know the overall direction of the trend, and if you want those trend lines to be much smoother. This mode recalculates past bars, so it can be a bit slower. But as you can see, these lines will be much more smoother compared to the other mode. And if you set this once again the bandwidth to much higher, like say 75 or 50, in that case you will get those long swings and the overall trend. So as you can see, this is that much more useful if you are interested in finding out the overall trend. But with this mode you will not get the arrow signals, because this mode will change the way these lines are drawn as new bars keep coming in, which is why I didn't want to give the arrow signals for this one. And if you are very much interested in keeping the indicator completely non-repainting, then stay with the other mode, and that one will bring back the arrow signals. You can also combine two of these indicators. So let me show you. Right here we have, let's go with 50, and maybe I'll hide the central line, and with this repainting mode, even if you have the arrow signals set to true, it will still hide them. So this setting is only if this mode is set to false. And let me set the line style to dotted, and then let me add another indicator, and let's go with all the default settings for that one, keeping this mode to false. So with both of these, as you can see the outer bands, these will show you when price goes very much overbought or oversold. So like right here we have this, so this will indicate overbought conditions, and when price goes out of this, this will indicate highly oversold conditions. So you can just combine those two to get these really long swings, and you can ignore all the arrow signals for when the lines are inside this outer line, and you can only take the buy or sell signals once you know that price has gone overbought or oversold. So these are just the 3 ways that you can trade these strategies. The first one would be the arrow signals. In that case, set the bandwidth to much higher if you're looking for those really long swings. The next way to trade is if you're looking for, if you're trading during a trend, then just the price bounces of the central line right here. If it's a lower trend, then just price bounces of this middle line. And the final way to trade is looking for these highly overbought or oversold conditions, so that you can trade along those directions. And as I said earlier, do not trade these arrow signals against the trend, because there you will get very small profits. But if you are scalping, in that case that's okay. You can set the take profits to the central line, because the central line, this will act as a dynamic support and resistance area. So during an uptrend, price will bounce off and use it as a support, and during a downtrend, price will use this line as a resistance. So you can also trade those signals in case if you're scalping. And the rest of the settings, these are just for controlling the way these lines look. So if you are using multiple indicators on the same chart, then you can just change the colors of the different lines. And as far as this dotted setting is, it is a known shortcoming of MetaTrader 4 platform, MT4, that if you place this as a dotted or a dash dot line or any of these, anything other than solid, then the line width, it needs to be 1. So the dotted, it will only work if the line widths are 1, and that is on the MT4 platform. And this one is MT5, which is why you can set the widths to anything you like, and you can use any of these. And you can set the arrow distance, the distance of these arrows from the multiplier which you want to use for how far you want this from price. And these are the arrow codes. In case if you want up and down arrows, then you can set this to right here, or you can set any of these other winding codes. And finally we have alerts. By default these will be false, but if you want to be alerted when the trend change happens, this middle line changes color, or if you want to be alerted in case you get an arrow signal, you can set these to true. And you can also set the alert type if you want pop-up alerts, or if you want all of these to go into a file in case if you're using an EA. And if you're debugging, then you can set these values to true, and you will get all of these debug values in your logs. But just be careful, this is mostly a manual trading tool where it is very important to study the chart first and to study the overall trend direction before placing a trade. So you can use this with an expert advisor, but make sure that you have enough validation. And you can also check out the cheat sheet on the blog post just to see what kinds of bandwidths go for which type of trades and the overall different settings. And if in the future I might add more features to this, then the video might become outdated. So for all of my products, always refer to the blog post because that will be the most updated one. And once again, you can get the demo from my Telegram channel. It will have full features and it will expire after 1 month of this video. So let me know what you think, and let me know what different settings you have tried in the comment section below. And I really hope that this tool will be very profitable for you, and just enjoy using it, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.